Anterior cataract, he said, sitting back on his chair. It reminds me of Caithness crystal I bought my wife last year on a fishing trip up north in Sutherland. I waited for the more medical view. He pondered. Yes, it's beautiful. What this beautiful growth would do for me was another affair, but as he signed me off years later as legally blind, I often wonder if he had any concept of how his charming manner belied the impact on my life. Did he imagine that now, more blind than seeing, I would magically navigate the world, know how to find my food on a plate, even negotiate leaving the room without falling over the 3 chairs I counted when I came in? The silence over how to live a life with blindness was loud. It took me some time to digest the news, and I was, as I imagine most of us would be, surprised to learn little could be done. In fact, according to the World Health Organization, blindness is on the rise, with over 1 billion people with complete or severe vision loss worldwide and 48 million with a visual acuity of less than 1 in 10, legal blindness. And that is only the people we know of. In Britain alone, over 2 million people are registered blind or severely sight impaired. In the United States, 12 million. Blindness is far more prevalent than you can imagine. More than anything, however, as I adjusted to my increasingly blurry world, I was astonished by the variety of ways that people, both known and strangers, treated the news of my impending sight loss. Some of my friends saw it as a catastrophic calamity worthy of pity, and I was rather surprised to hear heavy sighs on delivering the news. Others were desperate to fix me, offering doctors from Cuba to Switzerland, and some did not mention it at all. Fewer still were clear-headed and practical. Various aunts and old chums seemed keen to underplay my state. "You seem to be doing so well," one offered. "I mean, you can see something, can't you?" As I was endlessly to learn, few people understand the spectrum of sight loss. I politely say that I have some functional sight, but there's only 15% left of it, and it is declining. I spend many days trying to explain I am neither fully blind nor not blind. Strange limbo and twilight zone. Like Dante's Virgil, who walked through purgatory in his epic poem, being both means you know one world and the next, but don't belong to either. I was constantly asked questions. Do you want to be fixed and cured? And if not, why not? I didn't have a clear answer, but I did realise I had to live with my present reality, whether I liked it or not. If I'm feeling forthcoming or being playful, I can talk about the spectrum of blindness or the various shades of grey blind people must deal with. Part of me always wants to give the full grown-up lecture that explains how there's a wide spectrum of sight and blindness, and most blind people live in varying degrees of shadows, light, dark, colour, foggy, and fractured images. On the spectrum of severely sight-impaired, but not completely blind, 217 million people in the world have moderate to severe vision impairment, of which I am one. But as I find myself increasingly exhausted explaining these things, I usually offer to show people the extent of my vision. Cover your right eye completely with your right hand, I say. Then take your left hand and turn it into a fist. Put the fist up in the centre of your left-hand vision so it blocks your central sight. Now, imagine the remaining sight murky and blurry as if covered with Vaseline or cling film. People do this and then nod in sympathy and agree with me that I can't see much. If I'm out and about with my white cane, I'm often invited to discuss the difficulties of describing sight and blindness, sometimes about my own sight and often about grannies, cousins, brothers, friends, sisters. Many are confused. I prefer to describe the mystery of my sight loss in such a practical way. I explain, while my eye doctors can give me a very scientific description of how little sight I have, which is about 10 to 15%, depending on the light, I don't find percentages particularly helpful. I do know I can't see the treads of stairs, the edges of pavements,